This episode of the podcast is sponsored in honor of avid listener Shalom Frager's 40th birthday today, wishing him many more in good health and happiness. Welcome to SmallTalk by Sfarim Chatter. I'm Nachi Weinstein. On this episode of SmallTalk, I'm going to be joined by Rabbi Mordechai Lebhar, who's been on the podcast in the past and who's the Rosh Kollel in Link in LA, and who is the head of Machon Magen Avot, where he publishes Moroccan manuscripts of Moroccan Gedolim, as well as various other works of Moroccan heritage, as well as other Sephardi works in general. And now just published / edited the Abuchatzeira Legacy Haggadah with Art Scroll, which is insights on the Haggadah from the Abrayaka, Rabbi Yitzchak, Ateret Roshenu, Baba Sali, Baba Meir, and Rabbi David Chai Abuchatzeira. So all the Abuchatzeiras, we'll hear more about them. So thank you, Rabbi Lebhar, for joining me once again on the podcast.
A pleasure. Great to be back with you, Reb Nachi. I appreciate what you do and the awareness of Sefarim that you're disseminating. And this is a project that, as you mentioned, is highlighting the Abuchatzeira dynasty, which is a fascinating family and dynasty of Kedusha and of really a lot of scholarship involved in this family that many are not aware of. They know their great tzidkut, the miracles they've heard, but they're not aware of the great Torah caliber that there was in this family for generations. It's not a very long line of generations, as we'll see, but in the past few generations. I'll start off with the following. I remember I once Rav Volbe mentioned that by the Jewish people, one of the bedrocks of Emunah that we have, and really a proof, we'll call it, of our Mesorah, is that we do not find Gedolim that are great in their piety and lacking in their scholarship. As much as the Chafetz Chaim was known for his great tzidkut, his knowledge of Torah paralleled that. And as much as Rav Chaim Brisker was known for his prowess in Torah learning, but his tzidkut was equal to that. And I would say the same as with the Abuchatzeira family. Their unbelievable piety, their Avodat Hashem, their unique approach to Avodat Hashem was paralleled with their great knowledge of Torah and the way that they wrote and disseminated that. So, really, the Abuchatzeira family starts with Rav Yaakov Abuchatzeira, but kind of almost out of nowhere. The central Morocco, the big cities of Fez, Meknes, Rabat, Marrakesh, Tetuan, the big bastions of Torah have been around way back. I mean, we could start from the Rif, the Even Ezra, the Rimigash, the Rambam, and after the Almohads, the Toshavin, the Megurashim that came from Castilia. We've spoken about that in the past. And there was a wealth of Talmidei Chachamim that were in this small country, but the amount of Torah that was produced might have not been so well known in the rest of the world, and now it's starting to get more well known. But it's incredible. For example, the Or HaChaim HaKadosh is just an example that I give as one of the Chachamim in the golden era in Morocco in the 1700s. There were many like the Or HaChaim HaKadosh that people don't know about. It's attributed to the Baba Meir that he said that the Baal Shem Tov mentioned that there was 200 like him in Morocco. I don't know the source of that, but apparently that's what Baba Meir said. And the Abuchatzeira family was from, we'll call it the southeast part of the Tafilalet region, and it's an amazing experience to go there. I've been there a few times before. Literally, it's villages that have not changed for thousands of years, for 1,000 years. They don't have plumbing. They don't have. There's no school system. There's really rural Sahara desert over here, and that's where this family sprouted from. There were Jews for many years there, but Rav Yaakov Abuchatzeira, who originally they say came from Rav Shmuel Elbaz. Abuchatzeira is a name; it's a famous name that because of a carpet, master of the carpet, of a certain miracle that happened to one of his ancestors. I'm not going to get into that right now, but Rav Yaakov Abuchatzeira was born actually in 1806. The Baba Meir once said that Rabbi Yaakov Abuchatzeira was born on the same day that the Haggadah passed away. So when one of the great Sephardic luminaries, the sun set by him, V'shoka Hashemesh v'zarach Hashemesh, another light in Am Yisrael emerged of Rabbi Yaakov Abuchatzeira, and he was known for his piety and his tzidkut, but his tremendous scholarship. There's many stories about it. We write in the Haggadah short biographies of each one of those rabbanim that are featured. Now, you mentioned that on the cover we have 6 of the Abuchatzeiras. There are many more tzaddikim and Talmidei Chachamim in the Abuchatzeira family. We just picked these 6 for whatever reasons of their Torah was more accessible, that we wanted to present it to the tzibur. So Rav Yaakov Abuchatzeira was the patriarch of the family. He had 5 sons. His youngest son was Rav Yitzchak Abuchatzeira, Hashem Yikom Damo, not to be confused with his nephew, which is Rav Yitzchak Abuchatzeira Baba Chaki, the brother of Baba Sali, who was the Rav in Ramle that was killed in a car accident, unfortunately. But this is Rav Yitzchak Abuchatzeira, who thousands go to his Hilula on Yud Daled Shvat. You've heard about the Arak miracles that have been going around. That's Rav Yitzchak Abuchatzeira. He was murdered. He was murdered by a group of Arabs. He was on a fundraising trip for the yeshiva in 1912. So you could read about that whole story, how he was nifter as well. So we quote him a few times, not often in the book. Then there is then the next one that we spoke about is Ateret Roshenu. Ateret Roshenu is a nickname that was given to the older brother and the mentor of Baba Sali. So he was the grandson of the Abir Yaakov. Abir Yaakov's oldest son was Rabbi Masud Abuchatzeira. His son was Rav David Abuchatzeira, who the word tzidkut is an understatement. His piety, and if one opens his sefarim, the Seichel Tov, the Petach HaOhel, all printed by Oz Vehadar. You could see on Oz Vehadar, for the few lines of Perushim that there are on Ateret Roshenu, they have to explain 3 or 4 pages, a little bit of background to understand. Very, very concise, very esoteric, and a little difficult to explain. So we had to extract from Ateret Roshenu passages that we could actually understand and relate to and say over by the Haggadah. So that's Ateret Roshenu. Then obviously Ateret Roshenu's brother, who had, we would say, one of the biggest impacts out of all the Abuchatzeiras in our generation, was Baba Sali, who passed away in 1984. Baba Sali was known for his Avat Yisrael. What people don't know is that most of his life he was a Rosh Yeshiva, a Dayan, a Rosh Yeshiva, and he a Rav of the community in that region until he moved to Eretz Yisrael, tried to stay unnoticed, moved to Netivot so that he could have hashpah in places where there wasn't as much Torah in the desert there, just like he was in the desert in Morocco. But that didn't work out. That didn't work out to how he wanted it. People started coming to him, and he couldn't turn them away. And he had such tremendous Avat Yisrael that the miracles that you hear, just first-hand accounts that I have heard from people, is unprecedented. And I never really understood how this family was zoche to such siyata dishmaya, because, I mean, we don't base our religion on miracles. I learned in Tells yeshiva. Definitely, that's not a focus that we make out of our out of our teachings and our chinuch. But it's mechazik to see so much siyata dishmaya that these tzaddikim had. So, being that I had a chance of meeting many of the grandchildren of Baba Sali, I really wanted to know what was the root of the siyata dishmaya that he had. And I think it's really based in one statement that I could wrap it up, which is the following: that Baba Sali had a tremendous misirut nefesh to mitzvot, to Torah and mitzvot. And when somebody once asked Baba Sali, what is your siyata dishmaya? Why does Hashem answer all of your requests? And he said in a very humble tone, I don't really know, but when I try to do whatever Hashem does for me, so maybe when I ask from Hashem to reciprocate, it happens. So there was no practical Kabbalah involved. That I can tell you as a fact. There was no practical Kabbalah. There was no types of like any sorcery type of things. No, nothing of that. It was pure emuna shlema, and that's what's given over to the children. Baba Sali's son, Baba Meir, Rabbi Meir Abuchatzeira, is also featured in the Haggadah. He unfortunately passed away a year before Baba Sali, and you'll appreciate this, Reb Nachi, because I know how much you love Sfarim. He would order every single sefer that he could get. They didn't have UPS at the time in the south of Morocco. I don't know how. He even got the pamphlets from Reb Shimon Shkup's yeshiva in Europe. He would get them in Morocco and read them and be up to date with everything till he moved to Ashdod. Baba Meir's son, Rabbi David Chai Abuchatzeira Shlita, from Nahariya, also has a lot of Divrei Torah in this Haggadah, and he has a lot of Hasidic bent, we'll call it. He quotes a lot of Hasidic Sfarim, which is very close to the Abuchatzeira style. So that's more or less the background.
Now, let's talk about the Haggadah itself. So, that's very nice, and people can read more about it if they want to read more about the Abuchatzeira. Just again, in brief, the biography at the beginning of the Haggadah. So this Haggadah, were these different Haggadahs that they wrote that you're taking from, and this is all translated to English, these Divrei Torah, and translated by the Haggadah, or you also took from different places in their Sfarim and decided to just put the Torah on the Haggadah when relevant?
Right, great question. This was not easy at all, and that was I was really we'll call it the quarterback over here. That being that I had the zichut of being exposed to their Torah, which, by the way, only, let's say, 5 or 6 years ago, I started learning their Torah more. In when I came back to Los Angeles, a lot of my balabatim had connections with the Abuchatzeira family. They for long time connections already in Morocco, and they introduced me to the whole world. I went to Morocco a few times, and I went to the Hilulot, and I experienced I experienced the beauty and the songs that the family had to offer. And Oz Vehader did a tremendous job of printing all of their Sfarim. Rabbi Yaakov wrote 12 Sfarim, like Shiftei Ka. He wrote 12 Sfarim. One of the Sfarim that he wrote is called Bigdei HaSirad, which is a commentary on the Haggadah. So that was, I guess, the basis of the Haggadah, the Bigdei HaSirad. And I gave shiurim in Bigdei HaSirad for a few years during this, right before Pesach, and it was on Torah Anytime and other places, and I got tremendous feedback. It was the most popular shiurim. People love to hear insights from the Abir Yaakov. If you've seen, there were other art scroll books that were translated from Rabbi Yaakov's works. Rabbi Yaakov has a lot of musar, a lot of messages of kedusha, gematrias, that's classic, and pardes, really pshat, remez, drush, sod. It's not only pshatim. There are remazim and there are drushim, and there's a sprinkling of sod. Obviously, we didn't bring too much of that in because it's something that you want at the Haggadah to be able to relate over to the children. So we added in divrei Torah from the Bigdei Aserad. That some parts are just unbelievable. For example, I'll tell you just we'll start with the end of the Haggadah. He has Rabbi Yaakov has a whole essay on Haggadah that is a must read. He explains the Haggadah based on the four elements that a person is composed of, which is fire, water, earth, and wind. And as Rav Chaim Vital writes, each one of those, the good midot come from and the bad midot come from. From fire comes anger and arrogance, and from water comes ta'ava, lusts, and from earth comes laziness, and ruach is litzanut, is doing jokes, and you have in the opposite, you're going to have good midot that are coming out of that. And the whole Haggadah, he explains, is back and forth. One of these midot attacking the other, the fire, the water extinguishing. You need the midah of water to extinguish the midah of fire. And he explains the whole Haggadah that way. It would take me a half hour to go through it, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful and relatable. And so for the Bigdei Aserad, we took some key divrei Torah. Musar, a lot of messages of chizuk from Baba Sali. Baba Sali never wrote sefarim. He didn't write sefarim besides one sefer that we know, which is attributed to him, which is called Ahavat Yisrael, which he showed in every single mitzvah in the Torah, or almost every single mitzvah, the love that Hashem has to, how we should love the Jewish people, and in general, love, which was his theme. He really had the tremendous Ahavat Yisrael. When a Jew came to him with a problem, he took it as his own and prayed and had tremendous Mesirut Nefesh for that. You'll see in the Haggadah stories of how he made sure to collect funds to give out before Pesach, and he wouldn't go to sleep until all those funds were distributed. So at the beginning of the Haggadah, we were able to take sections of his Sefer on Ahavat Yisrael that have to do with Pesach and showing how Ahavat Yisrael is tied into Pesach, and a lot of stories. We wrote mainly stories that have to do with their chesed that they did. Also practices from the Abuchatzeira family, how they kept Pesach. What niyot did he stay away from? Fascinating, the chumrot that he had, and it connects us to the family, and it gives us a real sense of shimush talmidei chachamim. That's Baba Salian and Rav David Chai Abuchatzeira, very popular Torah that he spreads with a lot of messages from all of the great Hasidic masters. So that's just a sprinkling. I'll give you another example. Should I give another example?
Yeah, please.
By Halach Ma'anya. People, they sit at the Seder table, so they start giving Divrei Torah on Halach Ma'anya, which is, why is it written in Aramaic? And there's like 250,000 different pshatim. I don't know how many pshatim are there, Nachi, on Halach Ma'anya. So here you'll have an approach that's maybe it's not so conventional, but it's the style of Rav Yaakov Abuchatzeira. Why is it written in Aramaic? Very simple, because Aramaic is what breaks the klipot, is what breaks all the negative forces. And when you left shul and all of the klipot, they came back by the time you finished the tefillot and you're back at your Seder table, you want to make sure that you get rid of any evil sources. Now, they saw those evil sources around them and kept them away. We don't see them, but but we mentioned halach manya in Aramaic to be able to keep those klipot away, keep any negative forces away. And similar to Kaddish has 28 letters, 28 words to it in the Amen Yesh Merabah, Kiminyan Koach. So to Alachmanya has 28 words in it. 28 words. So to Alachmanya has 28 words, and you'll see how that fits in and how there's 28 words. And it's in order to protect us. Then you have the Dayenu to explain how the Dayenu is the 15 steps of the Seder. Those are some of the Divrei Torah mixed with stories and practices that's in this Haggadah.
So stylistically, this Haggadah, you've given a little bit of sprinkling. Obviously, there's much more here. What would you tell the listener? What type of reader, potentially, someone wants to pick up Haggadah this year for Pesach, who would enjoy this Haggadah?
So really, this Haggadah is geared for everyone. It's Shaveh L'chol Nefesh. It's got deep and impactful Torah that is, we'll call it, unconventional sometimes. We have stories from the great tzaddikim. There are practices, hanhagot, that we could really connect to the Abuchatzeira family in a way that I feel that if somebody uses this Haggadah, it's like he has them at his table. And it's definitely a fresh look, and I think that there's a lot to gain.
So also we should mention that, first of all, in the back there's some piyutim they included from the Abuchatzeira family, which is interesting. And also something else that you mentioned earlier, where you have Divrei Torah and Haggadah, you have also an Echad Miyadea. It's interesting that a lot of Haggadahs don't have Divrei Torah on the songs at the end of the Haggadah. And if those who say them are still there at the Seder at the end, they're like, wait, what are these? What's going on over here? And as you mentioned, you gave one example, and there are others also. There are Divrei Torah on those songs, as well as the extra piyutim in here, which is interesting and a little unique, I think.
Well, the legacy, one of the special, distinct legacies that the Abuchatzeira family left over was their song. They relate to their song as part of Divrei Torah at the table, because the songs are based on very relatable and important concepts about Shabbat, about the Shechina, and they were written by Baba Sali. As a matter of fact, Yodu Lecha Ra'ayonai, the famous song from Baba Sali, not only was written by him, but also the tune comes from him. And all these tunes one could find readily available on the different music platforms. And the songs, so we only put a few of them in, but that definitely gives a flavor of the tremendous avoda of piyut and songs that they had. And to see the whole, I've seen this before, Nachi, the whole family, 50 and 60 of them, singing at the Shabbat table for hours off by heart, all of these songs, is something unforgettable.
So definitely very interesting, a little bit of a different Haggadah for those that aren't familiar. And so I'll link to it in the show notes. There's also a code for free shipping, which you told me. I'll put in the show notes. Magen Avot, Magenavot. And, because I know you're in LA, I'm sure there's those that are interested in LA on the West Coast. If you put in code West Coast, WESTCOAST, you can get free expedited shipping to the West Coast on orders above $49. So all that information will be in the show's notes together with the link at ArtScroll. And then, Sfarim Stores, Judaic stores should have it if you can just walk in there and purchase it for those interested. And so thank you, Rabbi Lebhar, for joining me for this episode of SmallTalk and coming back on the podcast once again.
Thank you, Rabbi Nachi. Thank you.